Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Last. I am Stylosa. So, Jeff has put a video out on the Overwatch YouTube channel where he goes into detail on what the changes are for Season 6. Now, if you remember recently, I put a video out where I was like, Season 6, is this the last hope for Overwatch competitive? Well, there are a ton of changes, and these changes sound really good on paper. So what we're going to do in this video is go over these changes in detail and explain what's going on. However, there is a link in the description of this video, so if you guys would like to go and check out the actual video itself from Jeff, then by all means smash that link and go and check it out. So let's get stuck into this because there is a lot of stuff. So the biggest change is going to be the move to a 2-month season instead of 3 months. So obviously this is a month shorter. Now, apparently, when they were testing competitive and beta, they tried a 1-month season. Now, I remember this because this was the very early version of competitive where everything was pretty much radically different to how it was now, but it was only a month long, and everybody was like, this is kind of too short because this doesn't really give you a chance to kind of earn your rank in a way. However, with 2 months, I think it's probably going to be kind of okay. With 3 months, maybe there's a bit of an issue. So what Jeff says is the problem with 3 months is generally people really try for the first month or maybe even the first couple of weeks where they're fresh. They really want to start the competitive season with a blast, but then they become kind of tired of the season and then they stop playing. So I think what they've noticed is a sort of a peak in players at the start of the season, and then it radically drops off towards the end of the season. And I think that's fair because that happened to me. Like I think saying becoming disillusioned is a bit of a strong statement, but you become less interested in competitive as time goes on. And of course, the competitive games that you're in towards the end of the season, people generally are, let's say, they don't really care, right? I think I'm fair in saying that because that happens a lot in the games that I've been playing towards the end of this season across all of my different accounts, wherever they are on the ladder. So I think this is an interesting change, and that is, well, that's awesome. It also means you will get your competitive rewards faster because obviously it's 2 months instead of 3. However, you won't gain as many competitive points as you currently do. Now, this is to offset the fact the months are short. The season is shorter by 1 month, so you won't gain the same number of competitive points that you do gain right now for wherever you end. So, like if you end at platinum, diamond, master, grandmaster, whatever it may be, you get a competitive reward for that in terms of points, and then you can spend that on golden weapons. Now, golden weapons are not going anywhere, so you'll still be able to earn the points to buy the golden weapon. So we don't really know if there's going to be any kind of new rewards or anything like that. Not yet anyway. But yeah, you will earn less competitive points at the end of the season. However, when you win a game, you earn more competitive points. So in theory, if you win loads and loads of games, you should be able to earn more competitive points than you did in the previous season. But we're going to have to see how this works out because obviously no figures were given, but this is very interesting. However, we go on, ladies and gentlemen, because this video there's so much detail in this video, it's crazy. So, top complaints. Jeff goes on to speak about this. So, players are really unhappy with decay. Now, decay is a massive problem with Overwatch. The thing with decay, and the reason why decay doesn't generally work, is decay is there to make you play competitive. They want you to play competitive, but you feel like, I've actually just got to get some games in to stop myself decaying, because if you get those games in, it's much better than sitting there and taking the hit or the loss of SR from decaying away, because it's 50 SR that you lose per game. So what they're going to do with this is they're going to change the amount of decay that you actually receive when you start decaying. So instead of it being 50, now it's 25, so it's half as much. That's actually pretty huge. In fact, that's really huge. I've got to stress that. That's really huge. So Jeff then also goes on to say decay is kind of needed at higher levels, and for the long term, their idea is to fight against the need of decay, but to begin with, they're actually going to just start with this for Season 6, and then in the future, maybe we'll be in a decayless environment, which I think would be great. See, because you've got to remember what they're trying to do. They want us to play competitive. They don't want us to just play games like in seasons before we had decay, where you could just sort of play games, get to your certain level, and that's it. Maybe you play 20 games or so, maybe you have lucky games or whatever the hell you're doing, and then you don't actually, it's not like a fair representation of your skill. So the more games that you play, the better it is for the system, because it's going to work out more accurately where you belong, which is, well, what everybody really needs, because it makes the game better. If you're playing against people with your same actual skill level, and the system will better be able to understand that if you play more games. So that is awesome. So this, yeah, that's great. So Decay, quite like that, but I would love to see the end of Decay, and I think we will at some point. But anyway, good step in the right direction. This is huge as well. This is a change to control maps. Now, currently they're a best of 5, and you obviously have to win 3 points to take the map. What Jeff is saying is, based off their statistics, well, not most of these games, but a lot of these games will go 99-99, and then either one team takes it in overtime. Now, the problem with that is you will end up going like, I don't know, the full 5 points or some sort of crazy distance on these maps, but it's very close, and you lose those games, and then you lose SR, but it's really, really close. So it's 99%, you know, it's in overtime, then maybe you lose the first point, happens again, but then you take the next point, then maybe it happens again, you know. These are very, very close games. You shouldn't be punished harshly for that. So what they're going to do, like, of course, if you lose these games, what they're going to do is actually turn these into a best of 3. Now, if you've been watching Apex, which is the OGN tournament, they've always used a best of 3 system for King of the Hill or Control, because it's shorter, because best of 5 is actually quite long. Like, Control can go for a very, very long time. And like Jeff confirms, it is by far the longest game mode in the game, by far. Like, when it goes the distance, you can be in a game for quite a lot of time, which is pretty crazy. So what they're doing is reducing it to 3, best of 3. Now, it's the same format they use on the World Cup as well. So I think this is good. It means that when you get Control, it won't be like, oh my god, am I going to be playing the game for like 35 minutes on this map and then lose? Because that doesn't feel great. Actually, it'll be much faster, and if you do lose, it kind of won't matter as much because you'll be able to go into another game faster. So this is a good change. This is, it's kind of unexpected because you think of the way control maps are designed, they have 3 points, and that's why they're best of 5. So you are forced to play each one of the points. Now, the reason for that is, like, obviously to force you to play the points, right? They've made the points of the maps, so they want you to play all of them. So for them to say, actually, we just want you to, you know, take 2 of these maps is pretty huge, because in theory, you go into a game, you win the first point, you win the second point, then you don't actually have to play the third point, so you never see the third point. And of course, the way if we take Oasis as an example, the way these maps work is, if you look at Oasis University, you could say Sombra is very strong on that point. But then if you look at Oasis Gardens and etc., maybe not as strong on that point. So if you've got like a Sombra player, you kind of hope for University maybe, or, you know, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see that. So a very unexpected change, but a change that, well, I will take. Now, placement games. Now, I don't like placement games, but they're going to stick with placement games, and this is what they're going to do. In Season 4 and 5, they placed us lower than where we should be. This is to let us climb earlier on in the season. The problem with this is it kind of feels bad, right? So if you end Season 4 at Diamond, SR, and then you do your Season 5 placement, and then it places you at Platinum, you kind of feel like you've become worse, or the system's not correctly placed you, and it's kind of like you get like a negative attitude. Now, I've always found it really weird that the competitive system would place you lower, because what they're trying to do is say, okay, Star, you've placed in Diamond, but you want to try and get back into Master. That's fine, but let's say you played most of last season at like 3.9k or something, so we're going to put you in 3.2k placement, so you're Diamond, and you're like, what the hell? This is a massive drop, and it doesn't feel great. What happens at the start of the season there is those players might just be like, screw this, I can't be bothered to play, because that's a big gap. Like, to earn the 500 SR back, or 5, 6, 7, like, or 600 SR, whatever the hell it would be to get back to that level, is pretty ridiculous. So what they're going to try and do for Season 6 is place you where you belong. So when you finish your placement games, you'll pretty much go exactly where you should belong within reason. Now, obviously, what it's going to do with this is look at your previous season, or like your entire career record, I'd say, but generally it would look at your previous season record, and then it will look at what you've done in your placement games and probably make a minor adjustment based off that. But I think if you ended the season at 3k, you would probably expect to start the season again at 3k, and then you go from there. Which begs the question, what's the point of placement games? Just basically let you play from wherever the hell you left off. But we've got placement games, so I don't know. I mean, that's like kind of okay. There's matchmaker changes as well. Now, this is interesting as well. So high skilled players have lots of issues, according to Jeff, and this is simply because of there's just less players around. So games generally take well, they don't take very long to match, and they can put you into games that are very strange. So you can go into games with players of all kinds of skill levels just matched together, because the matchmaker is trying to get you into a game fast. It doesn't want you sitting there, even though it says, oh, expected queue might be long, or the wait time's long, it still kind of puts you into a game, and the games can be weird, like with loads of different kind of skill levels in, and the game doesn't feel balanced. What it's going to do now is take more time to match higher skill players. This is good because it solves 2 problems. if you are like a top 500 player, you probably don't want to be in a game with players that are not at least Grandmaster, let's say. So if they were Master level players, yeah, you know, if they're High Master, maybe okay, but if they're Low Master, you don't really want them in the game with you, or if they're Diamond, because you're so much better than those players, it's not really going to make a good game. So now you're going to have to wait longer, which I think is a fair trade-off. I think nobody out there would say, oh, this is bad, I don't want to wait for a better game. Like, literally waiting an extra 3 or 4 minutes is probably going to be fine for most people at that level. But like I said, this only really affects people at the top of the ladder, so it's not really that much of an issue for the main player base, but it's kind of cool that they're looking at that, and that is awesome. Now, what Jeff says is, like, comp play, it's an ongoing process. I mean, we kind of know this, right? God knows I've made enough videos on competitive play and the things which are wrong with it, the things which are right with it, and all kinds of stuff. They say they'll never let it stagnate. They know it's important, if not the most important part of the game, and they will keep evolving the system over time, which is nice for them to say. They think it is possibly the most important part of the game, because competitive is where you go to test yourself. It's like, okay, I want to play Overwatch, I'm going to go into competitive. And the problem with it, kind of right now and in Season 5, is you can get people that kind of are not there for that reason. They're just there to kind of have fun in their own special way, let's say, ladies and gentlemen, which can be kind of annoying to those people out there who are really trying to play the game. They also interestingly say they are working on changes to Season 7 and Season 8 already. Now, these changes should come quicker because, remember, this is only a 2-month season now. And in theory, these seasons will also be 2 months, unless something drastic happens and they go back to a 3-month season. I don't think we'll ever see a 1-month season because, like, they tried that early beta and it was really too quick. So 2 months might be the sweet spot, but it's a pretty huge change anyway. And of course, they want to hear our feedback on Season 6, which I don't really think is an issue. I think loads of people will give them tons and tons of feedback. And then Jeff says he wants to make competitive play great again. And I was expecting him to pull out like a Trump hat. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Stylosa and this is Unit Lost. A lot of changes coming to competitive. This is a very exciting time for Overwatch. There are other changes coming out as well. Things like Mercy is having changes. We've got the Diva changes we know about. It's crazy interest. Obviously, we've got Junkertown and all of that stuff. We've got Deathmatch. You know, we're going to see Deathmatch competitive. Who knows? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Stylosa. This is Unit Lost. If you enjoyed the video, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. You can join Discord as well, which is discord.gg/Unit Lost. And I will catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.